Hello, my name is Karen. This isn't my story, but today I'm lending my voice to the woman whose story it is. I was very young when I started working at KidsPeace. I have met some truly remarkable and amazing people during my career here. I remember this one teenager under my care many years ago when I was a mental health technician. She was in terrible pain. She was angry and hurting, and no matter how hard we tried, her feelings of loneliness and despair continued to greatly impact her. She had been admitted to KidsPeace residential program. One day, her depression and anxiety simply overwhelmed her. She ran. We were all out looking for her and calling for her, but even though we had built such a strong bond of trust with her that day, she just didn't care. She was hurting too badly, and she didn't know how to stop her pain. While we were looking for her and calling to her, she was cutting herself. Her arms, her legs, her stomach. It was awful. When we found her, she was covered in blood. She looked at us with such despair and shame. My heart ached for her. I took her to the emergency room. I sat with her for hours. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we sat in silence. But I stayed with her and never left her side. Could she understand how much I cared? I don't really know. The nurse counted her cuts that day, treating each one. She had cut herself hundreds of times. Just imagine how much emotional pain she must have been in to do that to herself. She was trying to cause pain she could control, to distract herself from the pain she could not. Something about that day was a turning point for her. She really went to work once she got back at KidsPeace. She worked on her thoughts and feelings and managing them better. She worked to learn the tools we were teaching her so she could better cope with the emotional challenges she experienced. She also worked on getting her high school degree right there on our campus. At KidsPeace, our teachers are trained to be sensitive to the emotional needs of the children and youth in our care. They help our students learn at their own pace while getting support for their emotional pain. Mental illness can be a crippling learning disability. She was awarded her high school degree by KidsPeace just a few months later. During that year together, I watched her have failures and successes, face challenges, and celebrate victories one by one. I could see that she felt safe here at KidsPeace. She understood that we were going to stick with her until it was time for her to leave us and spread her wings. I think that that's the best part of working for KidsPeace, watching the transformation of these children. A few years ago, I learned that she's happily married with children. She even became an EMT. The thought that a young girl whose life I helped save so many years ago grew up to save the lives of others brings me great joy. It isn't all that difficult for me to believe that at KidsPeace, we have nurtured countless heroes over our 135-year history.